all the traffic.
That's all the day.
I can leave at 5. I can leave at 5. I can also stay.
Yeah, I once upon a time done some property out there.
All right, we're going live.
Okay, we're live.
That's the Royal Beach.
Yeah.
Smart one.
You know,
And she's
Yeah, looks pretty behind her, doesn't it? What is that, a screen saver?
when Steve Jagger's out there, so I do.
I had one for a while that was the
It's
Central Perk, which is a coffee shop from
Pretty
France, that
active.
looked like you were sitting in a coffee shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, we joined about 3 weeks ago.
And Jennifer was sick with, so we can.
Okay, welcome to the Tahlequah Board of Education regular monthly meeting. Board members Lori Walker and Ed Myers are both joining us via Zoom. And Wendy, we are all here. Chrissy, do you want to introduce the students who are doing the Pledge of Allegiance?
I do. We have Avery Bynum, 6th grade, Mr. Goodman's class. Her parents are Lisa and Brett Bynum. And she says, I enjoy cheer, tennis, volleyball, and jumping on my trampoline. And we have Brinley Freeman, 6th grade, Mr. Goodman. Parents are Tony and Ryan Freeman, and she enjoys cheer, golf, tennis, volleyball, crafts, paint, cooking, and baking.
Okay, we don't.
Hi, I'm Brinley Freeman. Hi, I'm Avery Bynum, and we're from the Tahlequah Middle School. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Attention, salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, girls.
Tigers Roar, THSU, Caitlin Myers is an American Idol contestant.
Okay, we have, in the past few months, we've kind of, all the COVID, we've gotten away from it. Legends and our Tiger Roar because it's not bringing kids in, obviously. But we still want to celebrate those kids' opportunities. So we're just working with the principal each month to record something. And that way we can still honor the students, but we don't have to bring them in. So Bass, play the video.
Hello, all of you out there in Tigerland. My name is Holly Sisk, and I am the proud director of the Tahlequah High School Vocal Music Program. Our THS Jazz Choir has some exciting news to share with you today about one of our very own members, Miss Caitlin Myers. Caitlin has been a regular performer in the Tahlequah area since elementary school, probably even before that. She is a local favorite and is well loved and supported by her community and especially by her high school choir family. Caitlin recently took the time and effort to audition for American Idol. Caitlin is going to tell us a little bit about that process and about how she got where she is today. Take it away, Caitlin.
Hi everybody, my name is Caitlin Myers. I'm 15 years old and I'm a 10th grader at Tahlequah High School. I've been a Tiger ever since elementary school with Miss Frazier, with Miss Amy Wright and Dana Waters at TMS, and now at THS with Holly Sisk. I love being a Tiger and I'm so grateful for all the support from the community throughout the years. I would not be where I am without the Tahlequah music program. My whole life, my mom and I have been watching American Idol and thinking about how amazing it would be if I were on the show. I had just previously turned 15, the age you have to be to audition, so when we saw signups for auditions, it was like a dream come true. Because of COVID-19, the entire audition process was online over Zoom. The day of the audition, I had prepared 3 songs, changed out of my pajamas, made a cup of coffee, and auditioned for American Idol right there in my bedroom. It was super important to me to be prepared and practiced for when my time came to perform in front of the producers. And thanks to the board for sending us all home in March. I had 6 months to do so. I'm looking forward to every opportunity that this brings, and I hope to make my Tiger family and hometown proud.
So, stay tuned for more exciting information about Caitlin as she departs on her most excellent adventure. Go, Caitlin, and go, Tigers!
Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the minutes for previous meetings, August 18th, regular meeting.
I move to approve.
I move to approve.
I second.
Any discussion? Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Zima,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the monthly financial reports. There's Diane.
Good evening. The cash balance in the bank as of August 31st is $6,821,429.41. That is made up of $6,210,035.97 in the general fund, $489,474.59 in the building fund, $5,428.90 in the hole in the co-op. Sinking fund, positive in the $127,347.75. Collections for the month of August in the general fund, $2,412,769.45. For the building fund is $4,231.61. And the sinking fund, we collected $19,545.65. Expenditures in payroll during the month of August were at $2,273,644.83. Accounts payable, general and building, $814,693.83. We did see our third allocation from the state for our state aid. It was up a whole big whopping $63.07, but positive any day. Any questions about the government funds? Activity account cash is at $598,665.33. CDs are at $256,085.98. Questions? We are asking that you approve and help us modify a couple of our activity accounts. We need to clean a couple of those up and asking for any more questions?
Have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the monthly financial reports, the 1 through 5. Was there an E?
Do you have any discussion? Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Presentation of the budget and discussion and vote to approve or not approve the 2020-21 estimate of needs.
So all of you received a condensed version of the estimate of needs. It's this fun little document that we get every year. It's very complicated to read, but it is technically our financial statements from the previous year and including the information that they use to create the estimate of needs. Don't think you guys got this one. Take a look. This is just more of a summary, and I apologize for it is so tiny. So
Diane, save one of those for me and I will pick it up later.
I got you.
Me also,
You bet.
or I also. Excuse me.
In the actual estimate of needs, the best thing you can do is flip it over and turn about 3 pages in to the page that at the top starts with Certificate of Excise Board, which is a preliminary number for us to start the school year with, and then we budget out from those numbers. So you can see the general fund total is $39,359,171.58. That's what we will be working on with most of our salaries. In addition to, if you go 2 boxes over, the co-op fund is at $125,758.26. In this budget, the way it is written right now, and the additional monies that we know we have received, but have not received a formal authorization, we will easily be over 40 million in the general fund. So you'll see, once this is approved, at this point, we move forward and use a supplemental Form 307 to add to this preliminary amount. Everything that's in this, once you approve it tonight, goes to the excise board, and they then approve, and that's where our final approval actually begins. In October, we'll bring you a much more detailed list on the summary pages that I gave to you, the 1-page document. That includes all of the different categories of the funding. Starts with the local, the intermediate, the state, and then the federal are at the bottom half of that page. Salaries right now are budgeted at, we're now writing, $26,009,227.55, which is, as of today, 64% of our overall budget. Non-payroll currently encumbered, which is included from the general and the building, all non-payroll, but that includes our contracts, our leases, basic operations for the district throughout the remaining portion of the school year. We're just over 7.3 million. Again, everything will go up and some will go down. We will revise, and it's a very fluid situation, a little bit like COVID. So stay tuned, because in October we'll have a much more detailed presentation for you on that.
So we need to go ahead and vote on.
I would, just for Mrs. Walker and Mr. Myers, we'll need all the board members to sign this document. So Diane will contact you both tomorrow about arranging the time to come actually physically sign it.
All right.
Fine.
Do I have a motion?
Move to approve the 2021 estimate of need.
Okay,
Second.
any discussion? Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Zemo,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Principal and directors report.
I've asked all the principals, we do it every year, annual back to school report. Obviously, back to school is a little bit different this year. We have some new principals, and also in the interest of keeping the crowd in the room down, I gave them all the option to go via Zoom, so we do have some presenting on Zoom and some being in person. Those know they can stay or take off after they're done. So we'll just kind of go in order here. We'll start with Sequoia and Mrs. Stark.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Good deal. Okay, so enrollment started out really slow this year for us, with us having to shut down in the spring, which is our big time to enroll kids. But throughout the summer, it picked up, and we ended up with some less than last year. But we have 147 students enrolled. 110 of those are traditional students, and 37 of those are virtual or distant students. I pretty much my same staff this year, except with the addition of Crystal McGee, who is my new nurse, and I am thrilled to have. a little bit about how things are going with our virtual. With pre-K, our virtual is actually more of distance learning because we don't have one-to-one devices for all of our students. So we're doing paper packets. And the way we've done that is that each child has a learning binder, and we put all of their activities and some manipulatives in there for them to complete the activities. And then my virtual teacher is also providing some activities online for the ones that do have devices at home that they can use. It's gone pretty well so far. The main thing we struggled with at first was getting parents to actually check in with the teacher or send in completed assignments. But we've gotten to the point now where everybody, I think all but 3 have connected to Seesaw, and the ones that are not connected to Seesaw are bringing their paper packets back for us so we can count attendance on them. Traditional learning, students are doing great. They've come in and they're excited to be in school. They're just thrilled. Our schedules look a little different with the new drop-off times. We've changed some car line procedures and all of the cleaning times in between classes. I've added a car line this year, so we've had to work through a few kinks with that, but it's helped us to be able to get students in and out in the morning and afternoon a lot faster. Shout out to the custodians for working so hard, keeping everything clean and sanitizing. It's been a big job for them to have to go around and spray everything in between classes switching areas. The students are doing amazing, wearing their masks. I was really at the start of this thinking, how in the world are we really going to keep masks on 4-year-olds all day long? They have not had a problem, very, very few problems with getting them to keep those on. They know that when they're inside, that's what we do. We wear our mask, and they've just rolled right along with it. And it's been an amazing transition for them and for us. So overall, things are going great. My staff is, shout out to them too. They've collaborated and worked really hard to kick this year off in a different way and think outside the box to make all this work. But other than that, I think that's all I've got. Thank you to all of you as well for your support. We appreciate all the decisions you guys have to make on a daily basis, and we appreciate everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now we'll have Mrs. McCoy from Cherokee.
Hi guys, so at Cherokee this year, we are off to a great start, just like Sequoia. We are super thrilled and blessed every day that we get to walk into the building, and you can just feel the love in the building when the kiddos walk in. Just like Kristen said, you know, these kiddos are rocking these masks. They are paying attention to where they are in relationship to someone else, and they're doing phenomenal. We have 412 students enrolled. 160 of them are virtual, which is a much higher number than I ever imagined that we would have at Cherokee. And so that leaves us 252 kiddos that are traditional. So with having less traditional, of course, it allows us to reduce some class sizes and social distance a little bit better. That number is still changing daily. We have had a lot of parents that with the rigor of our virtual program, they were just really having a hard time having a hard time helping their student be successful at home. And so we, of course, every time a student doesn't log into a Zoom meeting or isn't completing assignments, we're making those phone calls and having conversations with parents about just, you know, how we can help them. And a lot of them now, because we've been in school for, it seems like so long, it really hasn't been so long, but in our mind, it's like, we've made it this far, like we've got this. And so they have seen that we are still in school. And so they have they've rethought their initial plan, and some of those students are actually coming back to our traditional side, which is so much better for them. Our virtual teachers, of course, all teachers are just working like crazy, but our virtual teachers have really really stepped out of their comfort zone. They have tackled this new way of teaching, and it's been very, very difficult. But we have had a lot of support from our tech teams and our technology coaches, and just everybody in the building has really stepped up and really helped one another make that transition. You know, my early childhood folks and those kindergarten and first grade teachers, they were very torn, and they just couldn't, you know, they couldn't quite figure out why they were having so much trouble. And we decided that the reason why they were having so much trouble is we know in our hearts that virtual learning is not ideal for 5 and 6 year olds. And so we've just had to decide that this is what we're dealt. And so this is where we're at right now. And we're just going to make the best environment for learning that we possibly can. And so they have definitely done that. We have kiddos that are logging every morning for those Zoom meetings. They're completing assignments. And if they're not, then we've reached out to those parents, and, you know, we're really trying to help them figure out a better way. Sometimes it's technology. Sometimes it's just oversleeping and not getting up and making it a priority. And so we're working with those parents to help do that. Our resource officers have been helping. Our school-based social workers have been out. Nikki Malloy has been out helping these students, meeting them on their front doorstep to try to get their technology working. And we're just doing a great job. And it's hard and it's exhausting, but it's going to work out. I mean, we get to see kids every day. We see their faces either on the Zoom meeting or in the building, and that's why we do this. So we're pretty blessed at Cherokee, and we're just working through it. Things are tough, but we're tougher than this, so we can do it.
Thank you, Ms. McCoy.
No problem.
I know that everyone's working really hard, but we're virtual learning to first graders, and it is not for the weak at heart. And shout out to their first grade teacher, Mrs. Davis, because she's doing first and second grade, and my kids actually like it, and they're getting their work done. You know, parents in the background and grandma's pulling out hair and about to cry every day, and but those kids are doing it, and those teachers are awesome. So I mean, it is not easy stuff, especially for those littles, because they can't quite do it their own, right? You still have to sometimes show them where the things is and how to upload their things, and they have to make videos of them reading. And we got notification today they were moving around in reading classes based on their ability. So their teachers are having to assess their reading ability over videos that sometimes cut out and you can't hear the sound and they freeze up. And anyway, kudos to all the teachers, but I know that those doing distance learning for the first time, that it is very, very different, and they're doing a great job.
Thank you. They need to hear that. They desperately need to hear that.
I don't want to be a teaching assistant any longer.
I am hearing compliments from throughout the community about not only our distant learning, but our in-class person-to-person learning and all the efforts that are being made. So once again, congratulations to all of you for making this a success. You are working round the clock, and that's what I try to tell all of the parents who have contacted me. This is heroic efforts on the administration and all the teachers' parts. So thank you.
Okay, now we'll have Mrs. Rogers Greenwood.
Okay, I'd like to kind of expand on what Marissa, similar. We have been working very hard with the virtual, going out, making home visits. We currently have 494 students enrolled, and 152 of those are virtual students. And I have been super impressed with our virtual teams, our virtual teachers. They have made every effort possible to contact every single student, make sure that they're logging in, they're completing work. We will go out to the homes. They do videos to show them how to do stuff. and they're pretty much available 24/7. Even though we tell them not to be, they cannot help it. And I mean, it's not uncommon for them to come in the next day and say they were helping a kid with their homework at 10:30 at night, because that's just whenever they could do it. So they are making every effort to accommodate every single student and whatever their situation is. We have 342 traditional, and we're just so excited and happy to see those students walking in every day. They have really the new procedures that we've put in place. It's just finally this week it has seemed like we have the routines established and we're really in school, and it's so good to see that and to see the kids there and learning. And I just cannot get over and express how hard these teachers are working. They are working. They really truly care. I've never seen a group of teachers like I see here in Tahlequah. So I'd really like to thank them for all their hard work and dedication. And then we have quite a few new staff, actually, brand new teachers. Our new technology person, Eric Jones, he has been a godsend. I mean, you just say his name and he like appears just right there in front of you. And he is ready. He can fix any problem you have. I mean, he's just running around all over fixing problems all day long. And it's just exciting to see everybody's energy and their effort and their willingness to work together as a team. It's really exciting to see. So that's pretty much my report.
Thank you.
All right, now we have Mrs. Vance, Heritage.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it sounds like all of us are having similar successes and similar challenges. One of the things I haven't heard anybody talk about today. Well, let's start with how many kids I have enrolled at Heritage, and then I'll go into the other. We have 511 kids right now enrolled at Heritage, and 146 of those are virtual kids. We've had 22 kids come back from virtual to traditional learning, and we've had 5 students go from traditional to virtual learning. So a little bit of movement, and but we're making it work. We're making it happen. Teachers are hanging in there, and they're going with the changes, and they're able to adjust and accommodate to whatever our kids are needing, and I appreciate them for that. Of course, we've talked about masks, and we've talked about cleaning protocols and all of those things that we had to think through and plan and make changes and adjustments for. But one of the big adjustments for our kids in elementary school is also eating breakfast and lunch in their classrooms. That is actually going really, really well. I was surprised. My own son, when he came home, I asked how his lunchtime was because I was just curious. He said, "Mom, it was the best time ever." He was very excited. He said he got to relax. They have the lights down. The kids are visiting, and I think it's a little less stressful for them. He even said, "I don't ever want to go back to going to the cafeteria again." But I've heard lots of comments, not just from my own son, but from all the way around, that they are really enjoying that. So that makes me feel good that even though the world around them is different and it's changed, and some of the changes they're liking, and it's okay with them. So that has been a good thing. Another thing that I've gotten to watch, of course, I've been in and out of classrooms quite often. And, the challenge now is kind of seeing, like, connecting with my virtual students. So I've sent out some, the teachers have sent me invites to Zoom. So I've gotten to Zoom with some of them. I've got to do Flipgrid and give some feedback to students on their presentations. What else have I gotten to do? I've done Flipgrid, Zoom meetings. Oh, just even listening at the door, a lot of that, just sitting there and listening to the teachers teach at the door makes your heart happy, because it feels like they're right there in the classroom with their students. So I just want to say that it is an amazing feeling to be able to watch our teachers adjust and adjust so well to the virtual teaching, because it's difficult. I do worry as an administrator, you know, one of my concerns and challenges is keeping morale up, obviously. And another, you know, something that I go to bed thinking about at night pretty often is worrying about how they're going to be able to keep up and balance and execution and just sustaining the virtual and traditional teaching at the same time. So I do worry about them, and I wish there was more that I could do to help them. And there's not a lot I can do besides be there as a support, and I do try to do that. And we're making home visits and making phone calls and making sure students are able to get on their, you know, on their devices and on their equipment. Just being really diligent about using our resources to make sure that we're meeting students' needs. You know, things aren't perfect, but I can guarantee you that we are learning, adjusting, and problem solving all along the way. And that's what it's going to be about this year. And I think everybody's on board, and they're willing to do that, because the biggest part was that first day when kids got off the bus. I was right there, 7 o'clock in the morning, first kids get off the bus. And Miss Arnell and I looked at each other. She had tears and I had goosebumps. I was like, this is what it's about. It's about students being in the building. And I was sure getting tired of that building. It was sure lonely for a long time. So we're glad to have them back, and looking forward to a great year.
Thanks, Ms. Vance.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now we have Mrs. Keys, middle school.
Yes. So I also would like to just say that, you know, the beginning of our year with traditional students, you know, we prepped and we had all those days before school started, and you still think, oh, but we don't have a procedure for this, or we don't have a procedure. And it's just, I've never started a brand new building before, but I could imagine that this is probably what it feels like, because I felt like we had to make a new procedure for just about everything that you can think of. I was super surprised in just big, beautiful ways, because, you know, our students have done very well. Middle school kids can be they're just fun, you know, they're like my people, so it's okay. But, you know, we haven't had one issue with a student not wearing a mask or a face covering, with keeping their distance, you know, things like that. And some procedures that we changed, you know, our student drop off isn't until 7:45, and we have our early morning duty people there. And so even if kids start getting dropped off at 7:05, we have people there. It's no big deal. We're rolling with it. We're working with it. So that's been just totally fine. Another procedure, we don't eat lunch in our classrooms. Our schedule and the amount of students we have isn't really conducive to that. But we started letting them eat outside too. And so Officer Stengel and I were actually talking, we're like, you know, if all this, you know, COVID's over, you know, in a few months, whatever, we want to continue that. That's been really exciting. I love to see a few friends sitting out in the grass eating, and then there's some over here eating on picnic tables and just things like that. And that's been really nice to see throughout all of this. We're getting a patio covering, and they're supposed to be here this week. And so I'm really excited. The sell things that are kind of over some playgrounds at different elementaries, and Mr. Ashlock agreed and you guys to purchase those for us. So hopefully those will be up really soon, and our kids will love that. So when it's raining, we can still go outside and do that. Back to enrollment, we're up about almost 70 students this year at Tahlequah Middle School. We have about 715 students. Of those, 245 are virtual. We have, I guess there's a lot of movement. I don't have the numbers like Ms. Vance did, but I would say if we're going to talk about a challenge, it's the movement back and forth. Whenever you're talking about classes and different hours and periods and things like that at a secondary level, it's become a pretty big challenge for us and our counselors to manage that. So we're working through it, but it's just something that it is a challenge for us.
We've spruced up our building even more this year through PBIS. We, through a grant that we have, they've bought us some signage for our building and it looks really nice. We moved our SRO to the front of the building, and Ms. Moore, one of our teachers, created his decal for that office. And we've gotten so many compliments from parents like, oh, we'd love to see that his office is at the front of your building and he's out there in the mornings with us greeting kids and things like that. So it's really nice. A shout out would be to parents that are screening their kids at home. We haven't had anyone necessarily get sick at school, have to leave. We haven't had one student show up at school with a fever, you know, things like that. And that takes diligence and it takes commitment by our parents. And I'm just so thankful that they're doing that. They're also, you know, the ones that are calling us to tell us, you know, my student has been exposed. So we may have quarantine numbers that look a little bit high, but it's not necessarily because they've been exposed at the school. But parents are being really great at calling us and just letting us know, hey, you know, my child was around someone and so they're going to have to stay home. And so we, you know, do our tracking back with the health department and let them know their return date and those kinds of things. So it's been really just shout out to the parents for that because they've done a great job. And the supports that we've received this year from Robert and Curtis and Valerie Jones at the middle school organizing all the Chromebooks. You know, 710 kids, you're trying to figure out how you're going to get them in classrooms to give on the first day of school. And then how are all these 200 students going to drive through and pick up a Chromebook, and how are they going to log on, and, you know, just different things like that. They've made it seem easy. I know it wasn't, but they made it seem that way for me. And so I appreciate them. They talked about Eric Jones just being there when you need him. Well, secondary got a technology coach also with Sam Allen, and she's been just like that, just so wonderful. She's helped Lacey and I, and we go to her with any issue, little or big, and she's been absolutely wonderful. And we have some new staff too. We had a new nurse, hired her maybe a day or two before school started. We still have 2 spots that are open. We don't have a speech path, and we're down 1 sped teacher. And so we're not giving up. We'll find him, won't we, Susan? Yeah, we'll find him. You're out there. Another thing that I would like to kind of talk about with that Miss Vance talked about was, you know, the morale of staff. And you know, when you're not in a classroom every single day, I feel like it's hard even for me. You know, I always said I'll never forget what it's like to be in a classroom, and I won't. And when I do, I'll stop doing this. But, you know, our teachers at the middle school are teaching kids traditionally in person. They're teaching all those kids that are going on distance learning through a Google Classroom because they've been in person, but now they're having to quarantine. But then also they're teaching through our virtual. So every one of our teachers is teaching 3 different ways. And the program that we're using through Edmonton is really not what we expected. And so we've gotten a lot of, if I'm just being honest, a lot of negative feedback from parents because it's hard. It is very hard. It's not like what elementary has done as far as, because we're, you know, credits, and it's just a different, you know, apples and oranges, but it's, they don't have live tutorials. They don't have live chat like they told us whenever we did our training with Edmonton. There's not a lot of supports with them. And so Ms. Mashburn and I talked, and we're going to meet again in the morning and hopefully, you know, talk through some things and try to offer some support, more support to families, and maybe change things up just a little bit on how we're doing our virtual learning, just so we can, you know, make sure that our students are successful. You know, that's the main goal, is we want them to be successful, and I don't want parents to feel the frustration that I think that they're feeling over that. And so we're working through it, we're working on it, and we know it's there, and we're just going to keep doing the best that we can do with that. I personally would just like to say, and just like what all these other principals have said, is that I'm just so proud of our district for all the supports. I mean, Miss Van Zant's over there helping me at least once or twice a week with something, Miss Mashburn, the tech people, everyone, and then just our teachers. You know, they're going into the battlefield every day, just like they do every single year, but this year's just a little bit harder. And they're doing great, and I'm really proud of them. I'm proud to be at Tahlequah Middle School, so.
Thank you, Mrs. Keys.
Thank you. We have Mrs. Wilson from the high school.
Yes, they pretty much covered so many different things that I would like to say as well. But first of all, I'm not in this alone. I'm just the spokesperson from THS. I'm telling you, I could not be here without all my teachers, without Mashburn, Miss Van Zant. Robert, thank you for doing all of the Chromebooks. You and Miss Underwood were just amazing. But THS is awesome. The kids are wonderful. They have kept their mask on. I just carry masks in my pocket when I'm around, just in case there's might break or something. I have it in my little apron, and at all the ball games, I just have those little masks too, and just hand them out in case they don't have them on. But they've actually been really, really wonderful. I wasn't sure, you know, I have always been around elementary kiddos, and I just wasn't sure how the high school kids would do, but they've done wonderful. I also have some procedures that I will keep in place even if COVID goes away. We have a little one-way area that has made the traffic in our building so much better. So it takes the kids a little bit longer to get to class, but it keeps them from bumping into one another and kind of clears out the hallway a little bit. You know, our lunchrooms, we went to 3 lunches, and I think I'll keep that even if COVID goes away. There's definitely pros and cons. I know they like to see their friends in the 2 lunchrooms, but it just feels much calmer and, you know, not as crowded in there. So my numbers, I should have said that first. I have 1,262 students total. I have 791 traditional, 364 virtual, and 107 blended. So 471 right now on the Edmonton program that play a courseware, and guys, it's hard. It is hard. It's a challenge. And it's probably my biggest challenge at the moment. And I don't know if it's because I don't know. I think there's a lot of different things, and we're working through it, and we will get there. But the feedback that I'm hearing from the parents is that it's hard. So what I'm saying to parents, and if anyone's listening, I'm begging you, if you're having a challenge, come back to traditional school, even if they've made one change. You know, we said they could only make one change, but we are saying that even if they've already made one change, if they want to come back to school, we would love them to come back, because we've had this conversation over and over, and we worry. We have some students that haven't logged in, and we're chasing them, we're calling, we're going to go to the house, we're doing all of these things, but this is for credit. And we cannot have this many kiddos at the end not have their credit. So it's a real problem. It's hard. We're gonna meet again tomorrow and just look at our plan again and just see. And so we've been adjusting as we go. We're trying to be flexible for sure. It's not the teachers that are doing anything wrong at all. They are amazing. It's the program that's hard. And so we're trying to get it figured out. My year started off a little rough, as we all know, at the high school. We lost a teacher. At that same time, I had 19 staff members in quarantine. I couldn't have made it without Abby. I was like, help, you've got to send me someone. I just having a hard time covering classrooms after that, you know, and it's real. And so we made it through that. I only have 4 staff members in quarantine right now. And none of this it's not necessarily like all school related, if that makes sense. Like Abby was saying earlier, a lot of parents are calling into us. I've had 132 kids quarantined this year so far already. That's a lot. So like Abby was saying, teachers are teaching in real life, and then they're having distance learners. I don't have all those right at the moment. I only have 45 right now, and that's not that we have quarantined. That's not happening at school. That's parents calling in saying someone has been exposed. We keep a spreadsheet, we count 14 days. I mean, parents are being very responsible and letting us know. And so that's a good thing. That's keeping it out of there, and I do appreciate it. I know it's so hard on a high school student to have to quarantine, so I appreciate it. But I'm telling you, it's wonderful being there in person. The kids love it. They are doing amazing. discipline, I haven't hardly had any discipline because I think the kids want to be there. Which in my opinion is wonderful. I mean, you can just see it. So the discipline is really not there. They might have their mask down on occasion like this, and I'm like, get your mask up, you know? I mean, it's not anything major. Oh yeah, I just had to take a breath or something, but it's good. In person is fantastic, but I'm not gonna fib and tell you it's been just perfect. There have been many, many challenges, and I think so many people have been working together to just make it happen that you wouldn't even really see all of the challenges behind the scenes. The teachers have been working really, really hard. So do you all have any questions for me for the high school?
What is both of you at the high school middle school talked about the program that we're using and it's difficult. What is it is it the technical, like getting onto it? Is it the work? Is it that there's not any tech support? What's the biggest issue with it?
I would say there's not a live person. We do have teachers like monitoring it, but it is just hard and it feels hard to navigate. But it might just be that it's new to us too. You know, sometimes you have to familiarize yourself before you feel really comfortable. So I don't know. Do you all have anything to add to that?
I would just say that it doesn't feel like the parents are telling me, you know, we're spending 3 hours on this reading assignment, you know, and we can look and see how many minutes a day a student's been on there. And for example, one parent said, my daughter spent 3 hours on this reading assignment and there's 5 questions only. And, you know, we want to know why there's only 5 questions. And then she only got 2 of them right. And, you know, that kind of thing. And that's their curriculum. Like it's not, and it's really frustrating, you know, we don't create those assignments, you know what I mean? And so I think the level, you know, we enrolled our students in the electives that Edmonton offers, and we're having to take those away because they are like, one's a physical education and one's like art, and it's gonna go through like the Renaissance art in 6th grade, and it's very high level. And so, it's just, I think it's really high level. They're not getting a personalized, like a teacher standing up there teaching them. And I think I know I underestimated the difficulty of not having a support of a live teacher. You know, I mean, you think because our kids are older that they can do these things, and really without someone sitting there with them, like you said, Miss Nemo, like you guys are giving that support to your young children. I think that even, you know, middle and high school, they need the same supports from families. And I don't know, it's not the family's fault because they thought, you know, it was going to be a little bit different. We all thought it was going to be different, but it's just a really, really rigorous, and the assignments are pretty much controlled. We just release this. My teachers that are teaching virtually, they release them on a pacing guide that's provided by, you know, the State Department and
So that program that the older kids are using, it's all self-guided, like you log in and this is your thing today.
Yes.
And what do they, if they do have a question, is there?
So they would email, we have a teacher overseeing it, but a teacher oversees many students. And so they would email that teacher, and the teacher does email them back and try to help them. And then we are thankful that we do have Boys and Girls Club money after school to have some tutoring spots. So there are some tutoring options available, I guess, after school. They would be able to Zoom and that type of thing. And we have one math spot during the day that they could reach out to that math teacher. So we're definitely trying little things here and there to be able to give them support. But their teacher that oversees it, they don't like teach the curriculum.
And is the actual, like the curriculum, it's not videos, or it's all like you read something and you do something.
Yes, little tutorials.
So there's not lecturing, there's not.
Very little. There's like some guided videos here and there. And then like before they take a mastery test for that they're gonna go through a tutorial, which is sometimes you're just reading it, but then sometimes there's like a small clip or something like that from not live person, but a recorded person. And so they're reaching out at middle school too, you know, to our teachers and staff. We're also offering, and we're lucky with our after school program. Ms. Jones worked with us so well and just helped us figure that out to offer some virtual, we're doing it virtually. They can set up a Zoom meeting with a list of teachers at the middle school to do that. And those teachers are staying after school to provide that tutoring for our virtual students.
Do we have good platforms or options, or how do we end up on this one?
Well, the state offered it to all schools this year, free option to use. So a lot of schools have chosen to use this. It's a common complaint among schools this year, and it's not just us. I'll be honest, I've not heard of a virtual platform that's not going to have these kind of complaints, because it's hard to sit in front of a computer and have a program teaching. So the district had another one last year, year before, OdysseyWare. But we tried this one this year because we were told this was a little bit easier to navigate than that one. So now we've run into this.
Are there not platforms like Blackboard or D2L or things that a lot of the universities have had experience with that's modified towards?
There are lots of platforms out there. So I mean, this is just the one we chose for this year because of the state contract. We didn't have to pay for it. Obviously, at first we thought that it would be easier to navigate it. We had never used it before. I had never used it before, so we learned on the fly. So, and I asked the principal to be honest about the challenges that we've had. And this has been one of our biggest challenges, the virtual aspect. We knew it would be, but I think at the secondary level, it's provided a little bit extra challenge just because of that software. I know this Mashburn and principals, we're working through some options. We are looking at making some changes, upcoming, maybe at the 9 weeks, fall break, something like that. We can find a good time to, because we want our students to be successful. So we are efforting the problem and trying to find good solutions going forward.
We have a middle school student and one at Heritage, and we've looked at it. And I've completed an MBA and multiple certificates online. My wife's has a doctorate from OU online, and when we looked at this, we was like, we consider ourselves pretty fluent in that after completing what we had. And when we sit down and look at that, I mean, I sit down for probably 2 hours trying to figure it out, and I'm thinking, I just got an MBA online and I can't even navigate a fifth grader site. So it was a little tricky. And so I turned it over to my wife. I'm like, here, you look at this. And then, we got to figure it out. But I was thinking, as much experience as we have online education, that it was difficult. So
it is difficult. That's why I wanted to make you guys know that. We're being upfront about it. And they're working as hard as they can to try to remedy it. We'll provide whatever support we can. We're just trying to figure out what the best is. I'm not going to pretend we have the perfect answer now, but we're going to work with them and try to do the best we can.
So the kids who have to be quarantined, so they're doing something different since it's temporary. They're still doing whatever their regular in-person class is, but electronically.
Right.
In the event we had to go full virtual for a short period of time or a long period of time, would all the kids be on this? Or
No, you would maintain whatever platform you have. Okay. Because in the programs, you have to have a certain amount of time there to get credit. So if we have to shut down, students who are traditional will be distance, which is still traditional with their teachers. People who are virtual all along, nothing would change.
Yes, I forgot to say that. We did cut off our cutoff date to go virtual just for the high school last week. And we did that so that if someone was working for credit, they would have a full semester to get their credit. Because when we were thinking about that, we were like, we cannot let someone go virtual in October and then them not finish. And it really be our fault that we didn't make them go earlier, if that makes sense. So they can come back to us at any time, but to go virtual on this platform would be too hard later on.
How about the kids that have been quarantined that are doing distance on the Google Classroom? How is that going?
It's going well. teachers are trying to get it figured out. They're working hard. They're working through it. Some kiddos are not turning in their work like others, and I think that's to be expected, but they're just emailing them, they're working on it. But I really do think it's pretty successful, to be quite honest.
Did they, on us, like, did they Zoom in to a regular class, or did they?
So not every class zooms in. I know that some of the more challenging classes, some of your AP classes, they do go ahead and set up a Zoom for those that are doing distance learning, but most everything is just uploaded into their Google Classroom. And then the student can get that at any time during the day. They don't have to log in at a certain time. So.
And we have teachers videoing their lesson prior to, and so, or they might video it during their first hour of class, and then they just upload that for the remainder of the day. So their student that is quarantined, and we call it move to distance learning, they can still get the same thing as if they were there. And so our students that have been quarantined, we've had it, it's been really successful, I guess, is, if that's the word you want to use. They're completing work and they're getting their things done, and our teachers, they're getting their assignments and everything on there.
Is it, I have a question. Is it possible for the kids who are doing Edmentum, if they're having difficulty with a concept, could they maybe observe or be a part of a Zoom classroom meeting with a teacher who's teaching that?
Are you mean the virtual students?
Could they also maybe go into a classroom through Zoom, via Zoom, or see some of the information so they could hear the lectures from, say, a geometry teacher or an English teacher? That might help them then go back and understand concepts that maybe they're confronted with in Edmentum. So frozen up.
Do what?
Go ahead.
The classes in Edmentum are paced at a different level or a different order than our traditional students. And so in math, they may be working on ordinal pairs or something like that. But then on Edmentum, they're working on a completely different concept. They're going to cover all the same concepts within that semester or that 9 weeks, but they're not on the same order. So they couldn't necessarily zoom in and get Ms. Denton's 8th grade algebra lesson today because they may be working on something completely different.
So it's paced differently.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Just trying to think of ways that they might get some added support.
More questions? Thank you, Mrs. Wilson.
You bet.
Last but not least, we'll have Mr. Willis at Central.
Okay, guys, I could probably echo everything that Lacey just said, we're on a much smaller scale here. We have 19 students enrolled at Central right now, and that's growing daily. I added another one today. We did 2 yesterday, so that's growing daily. 10 of those are virtual, which is a real struggle for us here because some of these kids are trying to make up credits, and this is a tough program. And then, you get them at home and it's a struggle for some of them because it is pretty hard. And, this type of kid, some, they don't have the greatest work ethic sometimes. So we're making home visits, we're calling, we're doing everything we can, calling parents. So that's probably one of our biggest struggles is getting, those kids that need those extra credits or to gain credits caught up with the virtual platform. The ones that are here, we're able to, because Edmentum is it's basically their curriculum here at Central also, just like they used Odyssey-ware last year. So this year's Edmentum. So the ones that are on campus are doing well. I mean, we've had a lot of success with the kids that are here. So the virtual away from school is our biggest difficulty. As I said, we have 9 here and 10 that are virtual. at the end of when we went distant learning last year, we had about 20 in our boot school, our TBMP, if I can spit it out, Tahlequah Behavior Modification, which is Sergeant Sam's. But the judge released all of those students because there was no tracking for them when we were out for COVID. So we don't have any kids in the, we call it boot school right now. So there's no one in there. We do have 10 people that are enrolled in our adult education classes, 5 in the daytime and 5 in the evening. And just like everyone else said, our teachers are working their tails off. They're doing a great job. Kelly Atkinson and Matt Qualls both have students that are virtual from the high school. So they have some of that load of those virtual kids. So they're taking calls, they're emails, whatever they can do to try to help these kids. Peggy, our office manager, is answering calls and trying to help them get logons. Can't say enough about Sam Allen. Like they said, she's been incredible for us because she's had to help us here on campus as well as our virtual students. But just like all the others, our word this year has been flexible because, you never know what's going to happen the next second, what call you're going to get. So, but overall, and this being new to me, it's been a good start to, I guess, a bad situation for this year for us. But our numbers are growing as they get identified. The counselors are referring kids to us. Like I said, we've done 3 or 4 this week. So our numbers are growing and we're getting those kids placed where they need to be. We've got a committee that, that helps me, that votes these kids in. It's not just my decision, which I'm very thankful because I wouldn't want that decision. So we do have a committee that looks at this, each student after I interview them, and we meet as a committee and it's a vote. So like I said, we are getting our enrollment numbers up. And another thing I wanted to say was, one thing that's difficult for our virtual kids here, and I didn't realize that because this is new to me, but there's a rubric that we have to follow for the state for alt ed. And these kids have to have certain types of projects like art projects and life skill projects and things like that. So Kelly and Matt are doing a great job of communicating with these kids and getting them to submit videos. And this is above and beyond the Edmentum program of them maybe doing an art project. Kelly even has some of them that have committed to come in on tomorrow, at different times, so that because they don't want to be around people, so they can do some of these projects so we can meet our goal for the state for our rubric. So these teachers are going above and beyond of what because they love these kids and they want them to succeed. Okay, so I'm very proud of them, and that's about all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Willis. Superintendent's report.
Anybody have any more questions for the principals or anything?
I'll tell you guys, thank you, all of you. I know it's big for all your staff and stuff, and nobody's happy about any decision that is made on any day, and I'm sure you all hear it as well, but I've heard many more compliments, and everyone's working really hard, and we're so glad, and just so thank you all. Wish we had money to give you, but we don't, so thank you.
Well, they said there was $6 million in our account.
All right. Again, just to echo that statement, I want to compliment all of our staff. Our teachers it's hard to be a teacher in a normal year, but this is off the charts. So I compliment all of our teachers, our support staff, pairs, bus drivers, custodians. Everybody's coming together, doing a great job. All the people that you heard from today, our principals are absolutely amazing. They do an outstanding job. I'm lucky to have them here. The school's lucky to have them here. The directors are, again, I couldn't survive without them. All the things they do, I appreciate them, and just know that everybody sitting in front of you, everybody up on the screen, countless hours, here early, here late, putting in a lot of work. So I just thank them and just know that they are working hard for the district, and I appreciate it. Just kind of an update on the COVID we've had, and these numbers are from the start of school, first day. And then also, I don't count, like Ms. Wilson stated, if somebody's quarantined from something that happened outside of school, I've not included those in these numbers, so there are more. 4 positive staff, 8 positive students from day one, from kids being here. It's resulted in 22 staff being quarantined and 156 students quarantined. I don't know that we would ever know or could prove for a fact of a student getting it here, but it doesn't look like that's happened on anything. It's usually somebody has brought it here and students is quarantined. We've not heard of anybody testing positive after being quarantined from a contact here at school, so that's encouraging. On to the next, the enrollment numbers, and you have an enrollment sheet underneath my report. The big number I just want to point out is, from September of last year, we're down 138 kids total. And again, that's every year as you look across the grade levels, it's not so much that you look at it now, you see the big ups and downs. That happens every year because class sizes are different as they go through. But some of the biggest things is we've talked about pre-K is one of our biggest hits. That's parents are not sending their little ones, and I understand, but that is 61 less than last year, so that's about half that number. And then, like Mr. Willis stated, our boot school, we have nobody in it because of the COVID situation, so that's another 20. So those two make up the bulk. We have had some students leave for other districts or online school, but in the scheme of things, not a lot, compared to everything. Off to the far right, you will see the total number. We have 1,110 virtual students, 163 blended. So we're at 1,273 virtual, for the district. That's, I believe, I didn't do the math, but it's about 35% of the district. So that would be the highest rate in the county in visiting with the other superintendents as far as virtual enrollment in the district. So that is our biggest challenge, and that's what I wanted the principals to kind of convey. We always try to put a positive spin, but this is difficult for them, difficult for the teachers, and it's difficult for parents. We understand that. So that is, it's been hard, but everybody's doing a good job trying to make the best of the situation. A little bit of good news. We were notified the other day. Today, we finally got the official notification. We were just taking, the newspaper was notified before we were, so we're a little worried just to make sure, but we got the official notification today. The School Violence Prevention Program, I believe I said that right. We get about $481,000 over the course of the next 3 years. We'll provide salaries for the personnel in that program. We'll get $50,000 for new security cameras throughout the district. We'll probably be able to replace about maybe 3 different schools, give them totally new systems. We'll go to the oldest systems, replace them first, and work our way backwards. We have about $180,000 for upgraded door locks, better security locks, and also trying to rekey them to have a similar key throughout the district instead of having these giant key rings. So that will be good. And then also $10,000 for some stop arm cameras on our buses that will record when anybody runs the red lights, the stop signs. Some money for training for our staff and our SROs, some technology, different student information, some different apps and things like that. So we're pulling in a lot of grant money. We're excited about that, and this is another one. So that will be a benefit to our staff and our students. A couple things that's not listed here that I wanted to touch on. Board meeting dates. Probably next month I'll bring you those dates to approve. I just want to kind of verbally make sure everybody's okay with kind of the current setup. We're meeting on Tuesdays when it's possible. Obviously, when we butt up against a spring break or a fall break or something like that, it may have to be a different day, but in general, we try to do Tuesdays. Does anybody have an issue with that continuing? Okay. And again, I'll just remind Ms. Walker and Mr. Myers, we'll need to have you sign the estimate of needs, and then also everybody here needs to sign that before you leave today. And again, I just thank everybody. Thank you, Robert, for Tech Department. We pointed them out, but the virtual, without them, they've been a godsend. Everybody's mentioned throughout that whole Tech Department has done an outstanding job, and I appreciate all of them. And that is my report.
Thank you. Good job, Tanya, on that grant.
It's a group effort.
It's good. All right, presentation by JT Boynton and Associates for possible bond construction projects.
We have Mr. Point here. You know, we've been working for, I think 7, 8 months now on identifying some district needs. It kind of got slowed down with COVID, so it kind of got moved to the back burner, and met with them off and on, and construction managers. And we have some preliminary drawings, preliminary prices for all the projects that we have talked about. We're not voting or approving anything tonight. We're just going to listen to his presentation and look at some pictures and some numbers and go from there.
Okay. I'm gonna have to pull it down because my glasses fog out when I start talking. As I said, my name is JT Boynton, and thank you for the opportunity. I'm with Boynton Williams and Associates. Dana, my wife, and I have been working with your staff over the last couple of months trying to look at some possible bond projects. I want to make sure that I point out that CMS Willowbrook is working with us to develop the cost. We have Brian and Eric here from CMS Willowbrook, and Eric's going to go over some costs when we get to that point. Touch on it real quick because the principals are here. These are broad strokes. As the bond moves forward, we will work with you and your staff and all your specialty teachers. I know that Dana has talked to some of you, but I don't want you to get worried if you're something's not in the right place. The main thing now is to get some broad strokes and some costs. We'll fine tune those as we go forward. So what I'd like to do first is just go over the projects. And then, like I said, Eric will go over the costs. I always feel bad when I stand in front of someone. Okay, next slide. Okay, the first school we looked at is Greenwood Elementary School. And you'll see one of the main goals at this school was to develop a new entrance. That is where that entrance would replace the existing main entrance. It's a new canopy. And you can also tell that we are suggesting that you might want to paint and get away from that really dark brick and go to the scheme that you're kind of more of a modern scheme that you will see at Cherokee that y'all have already done. So the exterior scope here is we're talking about defining the entrance. We're going to repair and paint some of the panels, paint some of the brick possibility. We might not get all of it because you'll look at our costs as we get to those. And we're running into some challenges there. There are several roof leaks on the campus that we'll have to look at repairing. Okay. And then the main project at Greenwell Elementary School is change. Okay. A little bit small for me to see, but first off, you'll see the site location, the site improvements. One of the concerns over there is the parking and drive. And so we're looking at replacing that entire parking lot and reconfiguring it to help with traffic flow, which I know y'all made some improvements lately. So we'll work with your staff to make sure we're still on that, but mostly it's to clean that area up. And then you can see the new entrance there slightly in white to help define that a little bit better. In the back behind, not the cafeteria, what do we call that building next to it? They each have different wings. That's the color, right?
Kinder wing.
Kinder wing. We're looking at adding on an addition. The location there is it works the best, and also because of some of the functions is why we've chosen that spot. Real quick run through of the addition is it's about 5,000 square feet. Based on code right now, if you're doing an addition in a school that does not have a storm shelter, you have to include a storm shelter for the students that will be housed there. And so that entire addition is a safe room, a storm shelter. Included in that area is a new special ed department. It's got 2 special ed classrooms and then a multi-handicap classroom, including restroom and the cleaning facilities. The reason for the location, a lot of the reason for the location of that addition is a new music classroom. 1, it isolates it a little bit, and 2, it's down the corridor from the existing cafeteria and the stage, so it makes it real convenient for practicing in those areas. Something that's not shown, but when Eric goes through your costs, you'll see it, that we're also including renovations to the intercom, a new intercom, and then we'll have to do some upgrades to the fire alarm on this campus. Okay, next slide. Over here at Cherokee Elementary School, you can see the cafeteria to the right. That's the existing school, or the existing exterior that y'all upgraded a few years ago. One of the goals here was to relocate the entrance to the south side of the school. I always have to get my directions right. South side of the school. And so that's what you're looking at there. The currently where the library is, moving the entrance to there. We'll also do some more exterior renovations. Is improving the north and the west parking lot. Not as to the same extent. It's mostly just repairs to those parking lots because that's a challenge. Next slide. Inside the facility, we have 2 renovations. The first one on the left is a renovation of the old cafeteria. 2 things that we're looking at is relocating the media center from its existing location, and then creating a nurses station similar to what you have at Greenwood, which would be more accessible from the outside and better access for parents and the students coming and going. Existing library into a new secure vestibule, new entrance, safety, and then some new administrative spaces up there, including, I heard you talking about a new SRO office beacon to the front of the building. And then a small canopy to help define that entrance so we know where it goes. That side of your building has been really nicely developed, so that's part of the reason to move that entrance to the south side. Same things, looking at replacing the intercom, fire sprinkler will have to be upgraded in some of these areas, and then the fire alarm based on code. Okay, and y'all can stop with questions at any time. Next slide. I didn't have any slides of it because it would be a boring slide, but Sequoia Elementary School has some roof issues that we'll need to address, and you'll see those in the budget as we move forward. This is a new student entrance to Tahlequah High School. Let's see here. Now someone help me with directions. Which way is that? Where's the student parking lot? Southwest. It's back to where the old entrance used to be to the high school before we thought the building 50 years ago. So it's a new, more defined entrance for the students, a little wider opening. If you switch to the next slide, actually it's a match to the existing high school. Again, this is another storm shelter because of code. So this entire addition, besides the little vestibules and the connection pieces, would be a storm shelter that would house all of your all your high school students and staff. It's currently for 1,252 is what we have the size for. But you can see that it increases the classroom. We're currently showing 4 classrooms. The new student commons area allows them to get inside in a little wide open space, and then the connections to the existing building.
They said that storm shelter, is that like exterior concrete walls, or what do they do?
Well, BWA has done it 2 ways, 3 ways actually. In the old days, we used to do formed concrete, and we'd pour it all up. Didn't look very good. So then we switched to block, filling block with concrete, and that's still the majority of the projects that we do. And then the other one is an ICF. You might have seen it, the styrofoam that's filled with concrete. So basically concrete walls are just a different way to fill them, what holds them in place. In addition to that, you have a slab that you're tying those walls to. That's where a lot of your force is. Actually, it's the uplift, not the numbers you're going over. And then you have a concrete deck.
Okay. And then I assume there's some doors, those are steel tornado doors that are in place that you probably don't use unless you need to shut them.
Right. You can see there, right by the commons or the connection corridors, the easiest one. You see those doors that are propped open. Right. Those will be storm shelter doors, but they'll prop open. Just on a day, they're not. You can use them; they're fine. Right. But we find that they wear and tear, and the adjustments they're hard to adjust, so we try to prop them up as much as we can, and put on these student entry vestibules so that the doors get used all the time. State of Oklahoma, and Tahlequah is following that same code, is if you do addition, you have to do the storm shelter if you don't have it. And then they also say you can't do hardened rooms or kind of safe rooms or kind of storm shelters. You have to follow all the FEMA and ICC guidelines. And so these will be full storm shelters, which, you know, for the cost difference, really you should do anyway. We've had success. We've done a couple hundred of these for schools across the state, and any space that you can think of, we've made them storm shelters. Once inside, you'll get used to the doors. They still have windows in the classrooms, but there'll be some shutters that are open against the wall. They'll disappear for the teachers after the first couple of days that they're in there. It'll look like any other classroom. Okay, so that's the high school addition. We're looking at an athletic facility over by the softball baseball field. To match, you can see it's nothing extravagant, but I'll go ahead and flip to the next stage. It matches the existing softball, baseball facilities, and it's an indoor practice facility and a couple of locker rooms for softball and baseball team. That's a preliminary location is where we're looking at. We actually talked about that last meeting, but you can see in that general area, maybe on that hill or maybe in the parking lot, but currently right now we're looking at that area. It's an indoor unconditioned space, open up the doors, practice facility, and then the locker rooms and coaches' offices. Before I forget, I make myself notes. It's not, I don't have a slide of it, but part of the athletic improvements that we're looking at also is to put artificial turf inside of your existing track. And you'll see that in the cost in the budgets. Okay. I put this on here because I wanted to make sure that we talked about it and I didn't forget to mention it. It's not included in the budgets, but we did look at, y'all are looking at buying some property, and we looked at the grade center. And so we talked to Mr. Ashlock of, hey, give us a quick view of what a new grade center would look like. And so we developed one, and the first phase of that, it was looking at about 66,000 square feet for a new 9th grade center. If that was something you wanted to look to. CML's helped us look at some budget numbers, and I think it was about $18.5 million. So that was our first. When we develop these projects, these aren't the only things we looked at. We work with your staff on a whole long list of things, and we're just kind of narrowing it down to something that's more cost, the cost that we're looking at. Those are the projects. Do you have any questions about the scope? You can go ahead and change to the cost. We might have to, I think he's got you have handouts from?
I've got 6 or 7 of them I can hand out here.
Yeah, the cost might be a little hard to see, but we'll go through the costs and have any questions.
There you go. Okay, kind of pretty much in order of how he presented them, the work at Greenwood Elementary, the special education music classroom addition, which also doubles as a safe room on the back of the building. I've got 2 lines here: construction cost, soft cost, and then total project cost. Soft cost would be design fees, testing, survey, geotech reports, furniture, that sort of thing to furnish out the classroom spaces. Man, I have a hard time talking with the mask. That's
on.
why I pulled it down. My glasses fog.
It's hard to get a breath while you're talking. But roughly 2.2 million for that addition. The new main entrance canopy that was shown on the first slide, about 170,000. The new drives and paving all on the front of the building, 764,000. The roof and wall panel repairs, which we kind of addressed some specific areas on the site visit, and then put in some contingency for other areas that was probably going to pop up when we do an actual assessment of it. About 126,000. The insulation in the gymnasium right now is kind of in disrepair, so that's changing that out to a simple saver system, about 33,000. Mechanical and electrical upgrades. I know when we were walking with the maintenance staff, they had mentioned that there was several things in there mechanically and electrically that probably need to be changed out to
bring it up to code. Got 353,000 for those. And then intercom and fire alarm upgrades, 62,000 and 124,000. So the total at Greenwood, 3,862,000. Next school, Cherokee, converting the old cafeteria and kitchen area into the media center and the nurse's office, 434,000. The work at the front, the old library, to convert it into the main entrance, and then a little bit of site work outside to kind of create a canopy to show exactly where that entrance is, 373,000. The improvements to upgrade the west and the north parking and drives, 212,000. And we've also got same thing there, intercom upgrades, fire alarm upgrades, and then fire suppression. I think we're assuming right now kind of worst case scenario on the fire suppression to have to go in there and basically do the entire building. So 45,000 for intercom, 91,000 for fire alarm, and 259,000 for fire suppression. The Sequoia roof replacements, we've got 382,000. The addition at the high school, the new commons classroom addition / safe room, 4.5 million. Indoor athletic facility, 3.5 million. District-wide interior renovations. We came up and did some site visits at several of the schools and identified some needs there for classroom and corridor renovations, but just for flexibility, basically, it's usually best to just put it in district-wide interior renovations until you can really get in and identify where the main needs are, and then you can kind of divvy up that money as you see fit. We got 3.2 million in there for that. As JT mentioned, putting turf field inside the existing track, 1,092,000. And then we've also put some money in there, kind of some allowances for technology, transportation, and band uniforms. You can see the numbers there, $1 million each on technology and transportation, 200,000 on band uniforms, to come up with a grand total of 20.26 million. Any questions on that? I'll kind of talk more about this, but do you guys have any questions of JT or construction manager? Okay. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. And again, none of this is set in stone that we're going to do anything. This is just some of the things that we looked at. Now, as far as, this is total here is 20.2. Kind of the number that we started on. About a $20 million bond would be roughly a 4% tax increase. So that's just where, in my mind, we were talking about keeping it under a 5% tax increase to run any type of bond if we chose to do so. So that was where that number came from. Doesn't mean we can't do a different number. Doesn't mean we can't do a smaller number, but that's just a number that we started to work on. Those projects like the 9th grade center, that's 18 million. So that would eat up all of that if we chose to do something like that. And if we run this bond and if we run it successfully, whatever we get out of it, probably for the next 10 years before we were able to run another bond. So we need to make sure we address as many things within the district that we can, that we're not going to have the money to do through general fund, building fund, because those funds are almost impossible to renovate a structure or build a structure unless you make a 5-6 year savings plan out of that. And again, these things are just identified. We just have technology and transportation as a placeholder. We put about $1 million. Anytime you run a bond, you really want to try to upgrade your bus fleet, because that's a good time to just outright buy them and not have to lease anything. Technology, obviously, it's always changing, from servers to phones to buying more Chromebooks or teacher computers or whatever we do with that. The band stuff, that should be band instruments that we talked about in our band program. The instruments are aging, buying them in mass would be difficult for us to do. So we thought, really the goal was to try to touch on the elementaries, try to touch on the secondary level, try to touch on athletics, try to touch on the arts, try to transportation technology. That way, as far as the voting public, we've tried to cast a wide net that it's going to benefit as many people as possible, once we do make that decision as far as what we're going to do. None of these things are set in stone. We can look at different things. We can And we're gonna have to piecemeal, because if we run a $20 million bond, you know, after all the fees and everything, so we'll have maybe 16 million to spend on these projects. You know, so even at that, we're gonna have to whittle down some of these things unless we go for a higher number. You know, that's obviously an option, but then that becomes a harder sell on the taxes and everything. So, and again, we just put in a lot of work on this, and obviously with COVID, it kind of got pushed on the back burner a little bit. You know, so we probably lost 3 or 4 months of our planning from when we would have normally brought this up for discussion. But tonight, I just kind of wanted you to see what we had at this point and give you an opportunity to ask any questions and just kind of start that discussion with the board. Any specific questions or anything about the presentation?
I'm slightly related to this, but I know because Heritage is new. Does it have safe room, storm shelter area?
It does not have a specific storm shelter.
I understand this is because if we're renovating, we have to. And then just if we wanted to do basically double this and push for including the 9th grade center as well, I assume that the high school addition would not.
No, if we did decide to do the 9th grade center, the high school addition would not be needed at that point. So that would be a swap there.
So really more like 14 million, because we'd be able to subtract what we have built into the high school.
Well, this 20 doesn't include the 9th grade.
Right. No, but I mean we said 18 million for the 9th grade center was a very rough estimate, but if we could swap out the 4 that we have for the high school, then it would be.
Yeah, and the total package.
When are we thinking about asking for this bond or putting this bond up? I mean, interest rates are so low right now, and the sooner we can get something done, the better it would seem to me. But so on what kind of a schedule are we thinking about proposing this bond to the public?
Well, again, that's really up to the board. We can have that discussion next month and try to set some concrete dates and get going toward whatever our plan is as far as what we would like the public to go for. We don't have to decide next month, but we can start that conversation. And initially, we were looking at a January, February vote. With everything going on, that may still be feasible. I don't know, but just be something that we'll have to decide as a group, when we want to try to make that attempt. And if we want to make that attempt now, or if we want to wait, or it's just a discussion that we can have next month. We can have an agenda item to set something up.
The general.
Would this be a special election, or is this something that we would tie in with something else?
Our plan would be to tie in to a schedule.
We have to pay for it, right?
Yeah.
We do a special.
Yeah.
What would the tax
Chrissy.
I said, if we do a special election, we have to pay for it. If we put it on a time when there's already an election scheduled, we don't have to pay anything.
Yeah, I understand that.
What would the tax increase be if we put in the money or got a bond that would include the 9th grade center?
This would be a rough estimate, but I'd say about an 8%.
Okay, that's pretty high.
In order to get enough of these other projects that we need to have done, I would say we'd probably be looking at a minimum 8%.
What's the percentage on Muskogee at 100?
Oh, they had a big tax increase.
And did it pass overwhelmingly, or?
I don't remember the exact number, but I mean, it passed enough. It got the number. I don't think it was overwhelming.
What was the percentage on our last bond issue?
I don't have that in front of me. Next month, if we have that conversation, we can have all that prepared and look at it.
Say 10 years, and you can't have another one.
Well, that's just, if we do a bond of that size, it would be difficult. I mean, other bond will run off eventually, but I'm just thinking, as a planning idea.
So that's a practical, not a technical.
Yeah,
you could run
that's
one.
just me.
Okay.
let's visit.
The land that we, for the ninth grade center, that deal is done right now. It's purchased and it's ours now.
We are. I will finish signing all the documents this week or early next week. We had some delays in closing for some abstract issues, but all those things have been resolved. I got notice today from the finance company that everything's good to go, and pretty much all we have to do now is just sign some documents and we're done.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you guys for coming. Y'all.
Wendy,
You're welcome to stay, but
is there anybody here?
That's okay.
No public to be heard. J, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the following items for surplus.
I move to approve items J1 through 5.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I'm wondering about the 4 pianos. What are they? Do you know, does anybody know anything about those pianos?
Those are at the high school.
Yeah, they're Holly's. I don't know a lot about them. I just know they've been there for a long, long time. So.
Aren't they just like upright pianos?
Tax deduction. I'll sell them to you right now.
Or you can buy the nice
That's
right. Okay, Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Walker.
Aye.
Zena.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
And aye. Business items, consent docket, vote to approve or not approve the following.
I move to approve items K1, 2, and 3.
Second that.
Okay. Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Walker.
Aye.
Ms. Zemo.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
And aye. L.
I'm gonna ask that we table this. We worked through the issues and we don't need to make a change.
I move to table item number L.
I'll second.
Anybody need a discussion? Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Walker.
Aye.
Ms. Zemo.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
And aye. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the schedule of encumbrances.
I move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Meyer.
Aye.
Ms. Walker.
Aye.
Zemo.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
And aye. Discussion and vote to approve or not approve the 2021 TPS resident teacher mentor committee members.
Move to approve item number N, and just to clarify, I noticed Miss Debbie Underwood is on there twice. I guess that's a typo probably.
No.
No?
Yes, two. She's assigned both of those people.
No, both, okay, both those positions. Okay.
I'll second.
Okay. Discussion. Mr. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Walker.
Aye.
Ms. Nemo.
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd.
Aye.
And aye. O, discussion and vote to approve or not approve Indian Capital Technology Center instructors Jessica McKinney and Mauricia Norberg Treat as adjunct instructors for academic credit in anatomy lab science for the ICTC Health Career Certification Program for the 2020-21 year.
I move to approve.
Second.
Discussion. Mr. Meyer,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. The discussion about to approve or not approve the adoption of the following policy.
And this is a new policy that we received. It's just emergency preparedness and management. It does touch on a lot of the COVID things that we already have in place that we're doing. It mostly deals with that. And one of the key items in here that I do want to put, I just kind of wanted it within a policy. It gives the superintendent the authority to close the school anytime for a maximum of 3 days. If I ever had to close school for more than 3 days for any reason regarding COVID, we're going to have a board meeting. I'll need the board's approval to go a week or 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. And I just think that's important in the current climate. That I'll never do it unless I have to. But then that puts a limit, and we'll have to have that meeting in 3 days just because we need 2 days minimum to call a special meeting. And that'll give us a day to kind of have some flexibility with your schedule. So that's one of the main things I want to point out with this policy. Everything else deals with things that we're already doing pretty much as far as our COVID response.
Does the closure mean switching to virtual, or does that mean like complete shutdown?
Yes, if I were to, for the purpose of this, it would be if we shut down, everybody goes distance and virtual.
So if we had an outbreak and we had to,
Yeah.
you could on your own do 3 days, and we would have to call a special board meeting to do that for either a specific amount of time or until we had another board meeting.
And it's already within, when it's all started, the board granted me authority to make emergency decisions. So basically I could right now shut down like I want, but that's not how we want to do things. I just kind of wanted to, put that 3 day limit for me, and then we have to call a board meeting if we're going to go longer, just so the board has input, community can have input, whatever they need to happen at that time.
It says 5 days.
That would be changed. No, up at the top. Look at that top paragraph 3.
Oh, 3.
This one here, that has to do with a little bit more, not necessarily COVID, if we have to be evacuated for something.
Okay.
That, to me, that will be a natural disaster kind of thing on that paragraph, and the 3 is for COVID.
Move to approve.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Mr. Myers?
Sounds reasonable.
Aye. Ms. Ennis?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Seema?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
And aye. Q, discussion and vote to approve or not approve the revision of the following policies.
These policies have changed. The federal government redid Title IX and sex discrimination, harassment, grievance procedures. So they're the same policy numbers, but they're pretty much policies being completely redone. And this is a federal requirement that we adopt these policies. And then we also have to post them on the website. We've already posted, the training. We had to do different training this year to comply. And that's a new requirement that's posted out there. And then once this gets approved, we'll post it as well.
Move to approve items Q 1 and 2.
Second that.
I'll second.
Discussion? Mr. Myers?
Aye.
Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Ms. Zima?
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd?
Aye.
And aye. Okay, our motion and vote to approve or not approve personnel items. And Leon, do you want to say something
Before Mr. Shepherd makes on item 4, R4, you have the termination of the contract, which is Mrs. Horn, which obviously is one of the things I never like to do when staff member pass away, but it is a legal requirement that we vote to terminate that contract, a person, anything like that, but we have to terminate that contract and just leave it. So that's, I hate the way it looks, but anytime you have a staff pass away while under contract, that's something that we have to do. So I just want to make sure we pointed out why that was in there.
Thank you for that explanation. I will move to approve items R 1 through 6, noting on R2 on the employment section, the following names and positions. Sonia Davidson, District Preventionist. Vanessa Willard, District Enrollment Clerk. Raven Al, District Selpera. Teresa Ledbetter, Transportation/Security. Tom Ledbetter, Transportation and Driver. Crystal McGee, Sequoia School Nurse. Caitlin Watson, Cherokee PT Parasub. Iva Kaufman, Greenwood Attendance Secretary. Aaron Hollybee, TMS PT Parasub. Brennan Lombardi, THS PT Parasub. Terry Williams, THS Special Care Para. Caitlin Anderson, THS school nurse, Kenneth Matthews, THS secondary English, and Leslie Musgrove Barnes, Sequoia literacy para.
Thank you, Mr. Shepherd. Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
I have a question.
Okay,
We have,
I'd like to add something in discussion.
yes, we're discussing. Ms. Nemo is asking a
Okay.
question.
I just
I
had
have one.
someone listed as both employment and resignation for the same position.
Raven Al.
It's Raven Al. She was hired, she started, and then she resigned.
And we have to do that to pay her.
And so she was only employed from 8/27 to 9/2?
Yes.
Okay.
Ms. Walker?
Yes, on R2, I am related to Brennan Lombardi. And so I'm going to abstain. The rules of consanguinity, that doesn't violate that, but I just feel that I would like to abstain from a vote.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. I have a motion and a second. So, Mr. Myers,
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Abstain.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I. Do we have any new business?
No.
Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
I'll move to adjourn.
A second?
Second.
Discussion, not Mr. Myers.
I was having such a good time. Aye.
You gonna vote? Okay, I'm sorry.
Aye.
Ms. Walker,
Yeah.
Aye.
Ms. Nemo,
Aye.
Mr. Shepherd,
Aye.
and I.
Don't forget, you, Christie, you guys.
Oh, yes.
Got everything?
Okay, so.